Welcome, everyone, to the official debate section.
This debate is being conducted under health and safety protocols designed by the Cleveland Clinic.
And the gang's all here. How are you guys doing? This is Incendiary for February 15th.
Party time.
That's right. So as you can see, today's guest is Joe Catapano, the creator of Star Circuit and coming soon, Star Circuit 2. How are you, Joe?
I'm great. I was expecting the rave to happen. My camera's not working too well, but I was expecting the rave and no rave. So
yeah, we were going to lean into that, and now it's working.
I know.
What the heck?
I hate technology. It works when
you
technical
difficulties fail on you.
Yeah, we can't even get the boomerang thing to happen on purpose.
Yeah.
Yes, tonight's debate. Bandito, if you don't mind, could you set us up in Blue's absence? Because this is a topic that you and I had discussed.
Yeah, for sure. How's my audio? It feels like I'm still far away. Yeah, okay. Well, good. That's exactly what we need. Today's topic is, I'm totally forgotten as well. But it's about how these guys that have taken over these massive IPs, have they earned their shot? Have they actually earned the responsibility to look after, to care for, to be in charge of such entirely massive universes?
Yeah, it sort of touches a bit on what we said a few weeks ago. Should we gatekeep the things we want to keep? And this, we're not gonna have that discussion again, but this sort of ties into it a little bit in that, should we allow Gunn, Abrams, Whedon, and Snyder control over all of these IPs that are near and dear to us? So,
yeah. I'm okay if anybody wants to open it up to something larger, because like for some people it's worked and for some people it hasn't. There's the Feige's that made it work for 10 years, but then over the last season have made it, a complete dumpster fire. So, there are people who think that Snyder worked or didn't work. So, I mean, if whatever side of the debate people end up being on, it really is, do these guys, should anybody be getting these? And when they do have them, have they earned that spot?
So, Jake, could you help set us up with Joe?
Of course. So, Joe, have you actually watched the debate show at all? Or
I watched one.
Okay.
Didn't you have Jeremy on or no? Maybe I'm thinking of a different show.
Yeah. Jeremy? Yeah.
No, not on the debate show yet.
Not the debate show. Maybe I haven't then. I don't know.
Okay.
I feel like I recently checked it. What's the format?
So what goes on here is, since you're the guest, you get to choose which side of the debate you want to be on first. So do you believe that these directors or writers, creators have earned their stripes to kind of take on these flagships and bring them to fruition for the audience?
Yeah, that seems very binary. It's very Android. I like it. Yeah, I'd say overall no.
Okay.
With these specific names, and that's what we're talking about. These specific names, Whedon and Snyder.
You know what though, Joe? We can draw in some others. I can think of one that I'll throw out there too once we get started.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you're going to say no, they have not earned their stripes yet, then since you're taking that side, now you get to choose one of us to be your teammate in the debate, and then whoever's left standing will go against you, and then the last one. Actually, you know what?
Hold on. Can I call an optional on the play here?
An audible?
An audible. If we're going.
Yeah.
An optional. Audible. I don't know. What's that foot game again?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Home run.
It's more. I'm remembering now because we talked about this like a while back, and pieces of it have kind of coalesced into the topic that we're doing tonight. It's more, should anybody be in charge of something so significant and large? Like, it's not even like have they earned it as much. It's like, is there a world where anybody should be in charge of so much? And if there's like pros and cons against that kind of thing. Just it's
that's obviously a different scenario than my first reply, but yeah.
Does it change your position?
It does, because I do think you need someone, because it's very rare for a committee of many people to come up with something that's really cohesive.
Okay,
so I do think you need a leader.
I'm going to call a second audible. And I'm going to say that we're going to use these guys as examples as well as we're going forward. Yeah.
Okay. These examples are bad examples.
Just erased everything I just told you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to make it a little bit more interesting. We are debating the debate. Like
doing very well.
Yeah.
Okay. Dojo, I'm going to ask you, do you want to be mediator on this one this time around?
Yeah, I do. I know very little about these guys. I read a little bit, but not enough to really take a good stance on it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm less versed in Abrams and who was it? Snyder. Yeah. So, but I can still hold my weight with Whedon and Gunn and those two. So, yeah, I've got a little bit to say on who needs to go and who could stay, but whatever. So, whichever. Joe, between me and Bandito, who would you like to be on your team?
I had a good reply to this. Which one of you guys doesn't like Firefly?
Oh, I'll go with I've never seen Firefly.
Okay, I'll take you then.
Okay.
Oh my goodness. I think I just won the argument. Never seen Firefly. Oh man.
Nah.
Oh my gosh, I should kick somebody for that.
That's funny. Well, I've got a hot take on Firefly. I'm not a fan, but that's one of my most odd things that I have about me. It's like me not liking the Beatles.
Right? Tell me you like the Beatles.
I don't like the Beatles, but that's a different story.
I think this game
to make it.
I think they're overrated, but I think both are. I think that's my whole point.
Okay, we have to throw this up then.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I had to.
Yeah, I like that.
True.
So, how does this start? Do we have opening statements?
Since Dojo is the mediator now, he can kind of wade us through the water.
As our guest, Joe, you've taken the position of maybe I'm not certain here. Given those four as the example, it sounds like you would say, no, they shouldn't have been given the helm.
No, they shouldn't be given the helm. And I do think there should be someone. Yes.
I see. Okay. We'll go with no, because we've got those guys on the banner. Okay.
Gotcha.
So you and Bionic Bra will be the against those guys taking the helm, and Bandito will be for them being given the ship to steer. So as our guest, you get to start off with your opening statement. Why do you think these guys in particular should not have been given the helm?
Oh man. Okay. Well, I feel like in times of big responsibility, and I guess a lot of management, because that's what you really need, is like a manager. You need to be a director of directors. And so that's not usually a director themselves. Personally, a director can be that thing, but either way, I feel like a lot of what Marvel did right was just good planning and not necessarily great storytelling. They did okay, but with these guys, I feel like in particular, none of them fill the role of like manager. They don't have like the track record to pull that off.
So what you're saying then is that it's not necessarily their love of the genre or their knowledge of it, but rather their ability to manage.
Right.
Okay.
I think many people could do the job even if they don't like the genre. They're just I'm trying to think of an IP that is really well managed now that I'm blanking, but I'll come up with one.
Well, that's an interesting starting point, because it does. I agree with you. It does require the ability to manage multiple jobs at once, and it is not necessarily where everyone under you requires the knowledge of what their role is, but they just need to know like what they're doing in the big picture. They don't all need to know the big picture, but what they need to know is their place in the big picture, and they need to know what they're doing in the big picture. And so sometimes that does mean, like you said, it's about being a director of directors. And, I'll give you that, someone like Feige is probably a better example. In the first 10 years, he had a vision of something and he was able to pull it off. However, as far as the people that we have listed, I don't know. I guess I got to take all the good with the bad, don't I? Well, let's start with the good. You look at someone like Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon is an ensemble cast director. So he takes all kinds of people doing all kinds of things, and he directs them into one focus point. So, and his whole thing is about, his style of directing is having everybody have some sort of quippy type of dialogue, and doing something different in the scene, and having it all focus into one significant joke, right? One good joke at the end of it, right? So he has taken all these little pieces and multiple moving parts, and he is known for the cast coming together by the end of it and having all those pieces fit together seamlessly. I would say that's like, that's the resume you need in order to be able to step up into the next thing, which is the having a massive IP underneath you. And you look at something like the Avengers, right? His style works so well, it set the tone for the first 10 years, right? They didn't even really know what they were doing. They had the Hulk, a story that was really kind of off base from what the rest of like what Iron Man and Thor were already doing. And it wasn't actually until the Avengers came along that they really had a firm grasp of what the style was going to be going forward. So when you
I'll give that to you.
Yeah. And so, even though Feige was the one overseeing the entirety of the MCU, it actually took someone like Whedon to come along and say, okay, no, this is the structure you need to go with. And we know that it wasn't until with Age of Ultron, we know that it was the corporation, it was Feige interfering that really brought that movie down, right? As far as the things that Whedon wanted to do, it would have made for a much stronger movie. He didn't want to put Quicksilver in there. He didn't want to have Scarlet Witch and that kind of stuff, and just made for a movie that was forced to be go in that direction. And
yeah,
so
I think
weaker stuff, we can usually there's often a case for it's the director of the directors that's been, the problem.
right.
You
I
need
think
somebody.
that's my big point is yeah, you might land with Whedon because he's got a decent track record, and I think maybe that's the reason, with him doing, what, Buffy, right? And Angel, and like all these things like coming together, and he thinks big picture anyway. So when you hand off something like that to, somebody managing all the managers, they have a lot to work with. So I think that you're right, but at the same time,
You're not gonna roll my clip, Dojo. Didn't I just win? He just said I was right.
Partially, yes.
I win. There is no rebuttal.
So yeah, you win 1 point. The problem is I don't think Whedon I think you could have anybody like I think he just was, it's pretty much like he's like a good vanilla flavor that they can make all their colors taste like. And
you just made my second point.
What was Favreau's role?
Oh, he was the director of Iron Man.
Was he? Yeah, I thought he did a great job. Whatever happened?
Right. I think that's part of it. I think like they grab Whedon, but really Iron Man was the I guess the tone setter for the rest. But I don't think it really worked until I feel like Avengers was okay, and I think that's a good starting place for bringing all these movies together and it actually working, and it was cheery and had Whedon's fun. But that can easily go downhill, especially when there's multiple, other directors in the room. Like in the case of Justice League, he made, with the help of other producers, he made one of the worst movies ever made. And
like I said, good with the bad, right? Like,
right.
To be fair, Snyder more like had the outlines of the story for it, but he focused more on the directing. He didn't really like help out with the story too much.
Right. He was put in a bad situation.
Right.
But at the same time, regardless.
Of course. Yeah. I get what you're saying, but
Snyder is also, it's an interesting point to bring up Snyder as well, because the guy, as far as a director goes, he does a lot of scenes, but he doesn't do a lot of plot, right?
No.
Like there isn't a lot of connective tissue to the way that he directs.
Right.
Well, you might say he does do more plot than character, but yeah.
More plot than character. I just find you jump from one scene to the next scene to the next scene to the next scene. They're just like exposition happens through the action. Like he's only show, don't tell.
Right. And he's flawed in that way, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting then because he does get like an entire IP put underneath him, and he was kind of the first to be tapped on the shoulder to actually really do that, because like Feige was given that, but he wasn't directing. Whedon kind of worked himself into the role, but I don't think he was actually given the reins to take control of the MCU, right? But Snyder kind of was the first, and there was a lot of, like, it's almost a bad example too, because I mean, at the time he tragically lost his daughter, and
Whedon had to come in and try and quote unquote save it.
And I mean, obviously Whedon did a horrible job of that movie. Right. So I don't know. Yeah.
Well, you can tell where he was and where Snyder wasn't when it came to Justice League.
100%.
When the Snyder cut came out, all those like real funny quips kind of left.
Yeah.
And which I liked. I liked the Snyder cut. I knew what I was getting into because I know Snyder.
Exactly.
But, like I couldn't sit through Sucker Punch. I hated that film. Like it was great aesthetically. Like you said, he shoots scenes. He doesn't shoot
every scene was amazing, but it was
the connective tissue.
But it's for Snyder, he has to be given the script and then just direct it. Don't let him try and like work anything in. Just give him the script, say this is how it goes. You just make the vision happen, and you're good.
Yeah, that's a brilliant. That's like a comic book role.
Exactly.
Like he needs to just be the penciler.
Yeah, he's the artist. Exactly.
Right.
And but when he
Bionic Bra, with that in mind, you said that you could weigh in pretty well with Gunn. Now, you and I we talked about Gunn being either the Hail Champion or Hail Mary about 7 weeks ago. So give us a little bit of your opinion on how Gunn fits into this example.
I feel like Gunn's going to make every single thing like Guardians of the Galaxy if he gets a hold of it. Like I said last time, I was like, he's nothing but, just dick jokes and, toilet humor. That's all it is. If you get something warm out of it, I feel like it's coming from somebody else. If you look at his like track record, he likes the dark humor. He's not about like anything that could hold characters together. He's very much about breaking them and making them just like hate each other so they have that kind of conflict. He loves the conflict and the dark humors. If you've seen Super, that was dark comedy. And if you just read it verbatim, it's actually very dark. And when it comes to Scooby-Doo, again, it's just the toilet humor. But when he puts those things together, you get Guardians of the Galaxy. It's PG-13, but it's still the same kind of deal. And I feel when you see Peacemaker, it's the same thing. It's just toilet humor. Let's see how many times we can get John Cena's ass cheeks shown. And I'm not a fan of Gunn. It's the same thing in and out.
Yeah, I have the least amount of respect for him, even though Snyder is, like I said, we said flawed. I really think. I mean, we talk bad about Snyder, but he has some good ideas, and I think like when his mind's straight or something, or when he has like when he's in like a more stable position, he does good work, great work even, and the more script and reference material he has, that's why 300 was so good. Like everything was so set in stone from Frank that like he just was able to like layer his Snyder-ness into it and make probably one of the most influential films of the decade. So he's capable. But Gunn, I don't even think is capable. I think he's the least capable. And he
was meant to make musicals. That was his thing. That's what he should have done. That's all I get from his films is a good soundtrack.
What do you think, Smiley?
So now you're going to make me defend Gunn. That was another reason when I looked at the topic, I was just like, oh, man, if someone chooses one side or the other, they either got.
Are you a fan of Guardians?
They have to tear down all of their heroes, or they got to build up someone there that they don't like. So I'm going to stare into the abyss, and I know that it is already reaching for me. All right.
Nah, you made my case. You're staring into the abyss.
Yeah. We're talking about Gunn here. Neil Gaiman, I like bringing this up because it was so poignant at the time. But he said the fans or the fan base are the fans, right? And they like the source material. I'm probably butchering this. They like the source material because it's the source material they like. So if you do something else, you risk alienating the fans on a monumental scale. It's not Batman if he's now at the Daily Planet in a yellow trench coat with a pet bat. And so when it comes to whether
April
you
O'Neil
like
reference,
if whether or not you like James Gunn's style, you can't deny that the films that he's done have been successful.
Yeah.
Right. So, and far more so, like all of his stuff has been successful and created cult followings and been on the side of creating fan bases as opposed to not creating fan bases. So we look at, and that's the thing for all of these guys. So I can use this across the board. Whether or not you like Firefly, it has a massive cult following. Whether or not you like Buffy or Angel, they have a massive cult following. Whether or not you like the Snyderverse, we know how much of a massive following that has. And so when it comes to whether or not you want to create a style for a universe, you want these guys who know how to create fan bases. And Gunn is probably one of the best at doing so because he gives so many quotable lines, right? I mean, even if you don't like Guardians of the Galaxy, everyone knows, that you do a dance off to save the universe, right?
Well, I mean,
so
I
and
would
this
just say,
yeah.
So
bring me an example of how this applies to like it applying to like a broader universe.
So
The big
you
argument
bring
is
these
if
guys,
they're managers or not.
you bring these guys in order to define the direction of where a universe goes, because the fan base likes the source material and they like it because that's the source material they like. So if you do something different, you risk alienating the fans on a monumental scale, right? That's Gaiman's own words. So in order to maintain the fan base and keep it growing, you want to keep doing the same thing in a repeatable way that seems continuously tends to try and be fresh, but in a way that reminds you of everything else that's been done. In order to do that, if you have so many voices, and we know actually when you end up adding too many voices, it actually muddies the water, right? And when you took Joss Whedon and put him in place of Snyder, it created a horrible project, right? So you want it to be where it's either it was Whedon from the beginning or it was Snyder from the beginning, because both of these guys have been very successful in creating massive fan bases.
Yeah.
So yeah, in that sense, they have actually earned their spot.
I would argue that I'm pretty sure you could do that with just about any successful director, and you're going to say they have a following of some kind. And so,
but you can't take it away from these directors.
Correct. I can't take it away. But the best example of fan bases are not necessarily these guys. I feel like with especially, I feel like Snyder just in with doing 300 kind of led to this, but with Gunn and like Whedon, I feel like their own type of tone like led to it being something bigger in the universe of whatever, either Marvel or DC. I think it's a bad route to go down. I'm trying to copy what Marvel was good at. I think it's almost, like I said, the planning was the biggest like talent that happened there, not really that the individuals worked. Like the best movie was, probably Winter Soldier or something from Marvel, and
still the best Captain America suit.
Yeah, totally agree.
And everybody agrees on it, but so it really comes down to like mild success after mild success and keeping continuity. So it's really just somebody or a couple of people that are like the sticklers of organizing things. It doesn't really matter who these guys are. I would say, and none of them are important. And for every good thing you find, there's definitely tons of weaknesses that they all have. Personally, I don't think Gunn is, like I said, he's the weakest to like man a whole series of like oversight over the new DC stuff.
I don't know.
I've given up.
Abrams didn't really do too well with the new Star Wars films.
I was gonna say I can't make an exception for Abrams. That guy has destroyed so much. So
he had Lost, but he even admitted with Lost, like they didn't have this like prolonged idea of what it was. It just kind of came to fruition as each episode kept going.
Well, I guess they had 5 seasons. They had 5 seasons where they were like had a solid concept and an idea planned out. But after the 3rd season, one of the main writers was just like, "Fuck these guys! They have no fucking clue what they're doing," and he bailed on them. Right?
Yep.
So I can't remember who the writer was, but I know that he's done other things that I had liked. I remember that part. But
So I wanted to ask one more question of each of you before we get into talking about Star Circuit 2, and I'm going to start with you, Bionic Bra.
Okay.
My question is about these fan bases. So we've talked about the existing fan base who already know the source material.
Mm-hmm.
And, even still to this day, the majority of people aren't in that fan base. They're not comic book readers. They're not comic book collectors.
Right.
So what I'm asking then is, what value is there then in, I guess, pursuing the normies, sometimes at the expense of the comic fans?
I mean, you summed it up right there. The expense is that name, the directorial name. Like, that's the only thing that's bringing these people into these movies now. Like, they haven't told us, well, they're not even ready yet, but the only thing that they're trying to throw at us is the name Gunn. Not any other director or writer coming in to help out with the universe like we know Jon Favreau did with, Marvel and with The Mandalorian. I'm not hearing anything else other than the name Gunn. And quite frankly, who felt like they were watching Guardians of the Galaxy film when they went and watched The Suicide Squad, the one that he directed? I felt like I was watching a knockoff Guardians movie. So I already see that it's going to be the same exact formula. And to be fair, I thought everybody was tired of the Marvel, what do you call it? The Marvel,
the formula?
Formula, yes.
Okay.
And so if we're saying we are already tired of the Marvel formula now, and already seeing that James Gunn is just going to keep doing the same thing over and over, I'm already tired of Gunn.
So. Okay, what do you think, Bandito, about chasing the normies at the expense of the comic fans?
Well, I think you should always remember who you came to dinner with. The idea of ditching the old in order to bring in the new is not something that has just happened. Like they have always done remakes of past IPs with the expressed intent of getting a new audience and trying to gear it towards whatever level of ADHD is currently surfacing in the youth or whatever, right? So none of that is new. And in order for the IP to actually survive, you do need fresh meat coming into the marketing grinders, right? So there's a lot that I don't like about it. However, there's a lot that I understand about it. Okay. And I would prefer for IPs to stay true to the audience that they came with. But sometimes that audience isn't big enough when a larger entity, picks it up. So
okay. So what do you think, Joe?
Well, I think there's probably better ways than just use some director's name to bring in normies. Generally, it's just from good content. You just need one good one, namely like the Joker or something, comes to mind, because it's really something that no one's asking for a Joker movie, but it's great. And now if you do anything kind of adjacent to that, the normies will watch and care. And yeah, with Smiley, it's kind of like, as long as you have that manager that I'm talking about to have one or two things, the cohesive type of outline, you need somebody that writes the outline and manages the outline. As long as you have that there, the one-offs will work and bring in the normies. Like, you don't need it to be, no one cares about, Suicide Squad as much as, big names like Joker and Batman. So yeah, bring them in with like a really good version, and then launch from there. But yeah, like I said, it doesn't really matter. The manager of all this stuff, sadly, it always comes back to HR and admin and all the boring jobs. That's what keeps it together. Because artists, you forget, artists are crazy. They'll do some nuts stuff, and they'll either lean into whatever they like, and then it doesn't fit the mold, or they'll lean into like super experimental stuff, and it doesn't fit the mold. So yeah, you need a guy that's boring to be like making sure they're not going off the wall.
Well, I don't want to treat that as if it's a segue, but talking about somebody who's managing an IP and doing it well, we'll sort of spin it that way. Let me share my screen here. Nice. Because Joe has a sign up for Star Circuit 2. Joe, tell us about where you've been with this and what we can look forward to.
Sure. Well, you can, if you just on the main page, there's just a bunch of Star Circuit stuff too. But yeah, it's on my website, Verivia Studios, which is the kind of the helm. This is my organizational type thing where everything's going to be under this studio. But Star Circuit, man, it's a story that has an end, and the next chapter is a big chunk that gets us, a good ways into like almost the second act, and the way I see it, there'll be like 600 or so pages, and this is a good 120 page chapter that will kind of bring everything into the next kind of realm of like the first chapter was obviously an intro. It's about a street racer who really just loves what he does and doesn't care about much else. He likes girls, partying, and racing. But then we start showing more of his family and the problems, and he's got a lot of copium, if you would, and he mostly copes with the aforementioned hedonistic pleasures. But in the future, he kind of has the inciting incident of something crazy happening to him at the end of book 1, and so book 2 is just this arc of him starting to develop his character, and we introduce an awesome villain that I talked about it before on Twitter, but villains are almost maybe more important than the hero, because it's almost like how the ending is more important than the beginning, because if you did it right, the ending is a reflection of the beginning, and just like a villain. So the villain that I'm bringing up is kind of like it's like a mid-tier villain. It's not your major mastermind, but it's the mid-tier. That's everything that he's not. We'll give away later, but it's like a cyborg assassin type of ninja character that I'm a really big fan of, like Shinobi and that sort of futuristic. I don't know if you guys seen Ghost Runner, but that's a game that deals with like the cyber kind of ninja, and that's kind of what he's dealing with in book 2. And I think it's just a killer section. Stoked for everybody to sign up. I plan to release something soon, either in Ashcan, or I'm going to be splitting this chapter into 2, and we'll just call it chapter 2 and 3. I know it's kind of messy, but right now that's where it is. That's how it works with creators these days. Like you said, or like I said, artists can just go off the wall, and this is kind of my moment of, I really like a giant 120 page book, but some people might not be into it. So I'm still working on it.
With that in mind, have you taken a look to see if there's a logical place to split the book?
Yes. Yeah. It's a perfect spot. I've had editors look at it, namely Kimosabi's, that we all know and love. He's checked it out, and he's found a good spot and kind of helped me rework and move pages around. And there's like sections that I can push to chapter 3 instead of keep to chapter 2, and things like that, rearranging. And so we could get it to like a 64 page book for each one, and it work, and have like what I really wanted was a satisfying end. My first chapter was missing like a satisfying end. Like if you read Bionic Bra's first chapter, there is a satisfying end. I feel like I really liked your first chapter.
Damn, dude.
Really, no, it was, to me, dude, it's one of the best books I've read out of the whole community. It's probably better than many of the pros. So props to you, bro. I like it better than Kinosabi's book. I like it better than, I think it's up there with Monster MD personally.
Let's get back to Star Circuit, man.
I know, dude. I'm just I gotta light you up a little bit. I never got
because this is the kind of praise that I've been heaping on you too. I think it's criminal that your campaign is where it is. I think it should be at least 5 figures.
It's a very, very good first chapter, and the second, you know, like and on. I know there's some trouble with the artist, but either way, Star Circuit is aiming to do that with the second chapter, which it's amazing to see it happen because you're making it and making changes as you go. But you feel the satisfaction. I'm doing a thing where when you read the first, well, let's just say you read the whole 120 pages, you're going to feel like it's going to feel like a movie. Like this one section is you're pulled in the beginning, intro to certain aspects of these characters, and then by the end they have a completion. Like there's either growth or there's a stopping point or something dealing directly to it, and that's what I was mainly writing for this time because it was sorely kind of missed in the first one. The first chapter was very I think everything it needed to be, just exciting and fast paced and a good intro to a lot of things. But what was missing was like a good fight, a good end, a good moral of the story, a good bookend. And that's what I'm bringing with the second chapter.
So I really enjoyed the first Star Circuit.
Same.
So given the fact that you have plans to really flesh this out in chapters, we'll call it 2 and 3 for now, for lack of a better term. Given the fact that you plan to flesh that out and make these characters even more identifiable, make them, more known to us, I can't wait to see Star Circuit 2.
Yeah, dude, I like I said, when you write it and I'm an artist too, so I got the benefit of not only seeing it develop, kind of with lingual kind of skills, but I visualize it and then I draw it and I see it and I see it works. I can see,
I'm super jelly of that ability. That's just saying.
Yeah. You guys, can you play my hype trailer? Have you guys seen my hype trailer?
Let me see here.
I made a hype trailer. This trailer is just it's just for me.
Is this it?
If you click the dots and maybe just go to my YouTube channel or maybe click my avatar, it might send you there. Click the X and then click my name. The start, that little icon there. That might bring you to YouTube. Hopefully.
Okay. Yep, I'm there.
Yeah,
right here.
So the hype trailer should be up there, but I made this just to hype me up on the sad days. On those days I don't want to draw, I got an injury or I lost my day job or you know what I mean. Those days that are tough. And so I made it for myself, but it's a really cool insight to like my process.
And you know what? Joe having an injury isn't like just happenstance. As a karateka, it can happen now and then, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Okay,
sure.
So I'm going to go ahead and hit this, and let's see what we see.
I don't see anything on my screen. Heads up.
You don't?
No, it hadn't popped up for us.
Yeah, so you might have to like go to a different page.
I have to go and share a separate
page.
screen, huh? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I can do that. I'll remove.
Yeah,
that.
this trailer it's got a nice little soundtrack. It's got the vibe. It's just there to hype me. It's there to hype me, hype you. A lot of it's scratchy visuals, but the vibe is there, and I think that's mostly what I'm going for.
I absolutely love how much you've invested into Star Circuit, your IP, because to go out and actually make actual tracks for your book is just phenomenal. I don't know anybody else doing that, and I love it.
Can you guys see it now?
Cyberpunk beats.
Oh yeah, no, dude, the mixtape was one of my favorites. This is pulling music from a metal band, but I love their stuff.
Okay, so is it on screen now, guys?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, let's have a look. All right, short and sweet, but yeah,
Yeah,
that does
it's not
bring the
even
hype.
meant for you. And the disclaimer in the beginning says it all.
Right.
It's literally just not. It's not for you. You can watch it, but it's not for you. So,
I would
but
pay for a book that just looks like that from you. I'd be okay with that.
I appreciate that, dude. But yeah, so much to come for it. Like the best thing I can say about book 2 is that it's got a more comic book, like not generic. I don't want to say the word generic, like a general audience vibe. Kimasabi says it's like robust. It's like it's got something for everybody, and at the same time, the parts that are shown of each, character development, some action, some racing, like it's really hit you hard from each one of those angles, and I can't wait to get it to you. I'm currently penciling it, which I've kind of switched to do it digitally to knock it out quicker. So right now it's a little bit of a slow grind because I'm trying to figure out how to replicate pencils digitally, but I'm working at it, and each page goes a little bit quicker.
Now, tell us what you mentioned. You might do an ash can, and you had told us a little bit, a very little bit, before we went on air. Tell us what you might be thinking about along those lines.
So yeah, the ash can would be for if I do the 120-page big mega book, which would kind of have my whole completed story for this kind of section. The idea of the ash can would be to give me enough time where I produce something and give it to you guys while I'm working on this, juggernaut of a book. And so the cool part about it is that the ash can could be even a not only like a preview, but also have a little bit of an incentive for you to get that and then get the main book. I feel like a lot of ash cans come out and they're kind of expensive, especially if you include shipping. And I think that's kind of annoying. I definitely have not gotten ash cans because I was like, if I get this, then the book, I'm like spending like $40 on a comic. And so I want to do a discount kind of thing. If you get the ash can, I don't know how much it would be. I'd do the logistics, but we'd keep track. We'd keep track to see if you get the ash can, you're going to get a good chunk off of the main book, which is kind of, I think I'll give you more than it's worth because I really appreciate you jumping on board early and building the hype, because I think that's more valuable than, just a straight backer. Like you're a believer, if you would.
All right. I like that idea. And, forgive me if I watch that happen, see how it goes, and then steal it.
Absolutely. I mean, the ash can works for a lot of people. Joe Sontag did the ash can to about the most magnificent level you can do it.
Yes.
I think that's one of his big selling points to his success. Tons of things. He's just a very good showman, I think, as well. Not a showman, but he's good at pitching, and he's good at being nice.
He's good at the marketing angle.
Right. He's good at that. And he's good at being around and showing what he's got confidently. And that goes a long way. But you know what? I'm
confidence
not
without arrogance.
Right. I have a little bit of that, but I've got flaws in different areas. But flaws go a long way to help people believe that you're like legit. People don't believe in perfect people, so don't try to be. Like I said, working my best and trying to figure out this mess of how to break up the book. But that's the plan for the ash can. It would be definitely black and white. You wouldn't get the full color. I think I'm going to go with I think his name's Carlos Moreno. Didn't he color? I think he colored B Rose's book, right?
From 656.
Huh?
From 656 Comics, Gway.
Oh, did he color in there too?
Oh, I thought he did.
He might. I haven't. He's gone through so many things. He's done a lot of work, and I'm kind of going back and forth with him to get a good version, if you will. You know what I mean? Like Star Circuit 1 had its own appeal, and I want to match it. So kind of keep it cohesive, like we're just talking about. If it's not as cohesive, then what am I doing?
Right. Okay. Well, yeah, folks, go out to Vera Via Studios. Make sure you sign up for Star Circuit 2 so that you're in on this early and get the updates and information when it's going to go live, because Joe's working on it right now. He's penciling, and we'd like you to be a part of it. Before we go, though, Bandito, do you have some closing thoughts? Are you with us? Oh, there
I am. I'm back. Sorry. And I do have closing thoughts. I just didn't get through to all of them. So we're going to be winging it at the end. But that's okay.
Okay.
So, yeah, when it comes to this stuff, right, we have so few expectations when it comes to our entertainment. We only want to see amazing characters with incredible purpose-filled conflict and especially satisfying conclusions to the small piece of the story we get to witness. It's so little to ask for being an appreciative audience. We would never pick apart every scene, every character, every plot in order to establish our own dominance over production and ensure it adheres to its larger source material. As much as we would like to pretend our expectations are low, we can't deny the skip in our heart, that catch of breath, whenever we get that glimpse of a character rolling in from the peripheral, have that classic one-liner, and then disappearing back into the shadows. When that happens, the investigation begins. Are they supposed to be there during this timeline? Does that hero have the right suit? Was his sidekick present? Was this after their own movie? Is it before the main conflict? Does this now change the motive of the past 3 movies that the character was in? We need it. We need the universe to be connected, to drop these teasers, to be cohesive. It's what the fans need. A larger universe to see the characters they love inhabit. So when it comes to bringing these massive and expansive storylines together, we have to ask, who gets the job? And we'd like to think that the best person, the most qualified, the person who loves the material the most will end up having this in their hands. It doesn't always work out for us. We have a lot of hurt and pain as fans for a lot of IPs that have come out. And we have rallied together to try and support the people that we thought were going to do it justice. In the end of all things, when it comes to all of these stories, I do hope that no matter who has it in their hands, they really are trying just to bring us the best story. And if they can do it over 10 years and 20 movies, that's fantastic. They have a fan for life. But if they try to, but as we've seen, if they try to pull it apart and make it something else that it's not supposed to be, they end up having enemies for life, no matter how good of whatever it is they do going forward. So when it comes to have people earn their spot, it's more, have they earned the fans to be able to support them to be in that spot?
All right. Thank you.
Words and language. No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world.
Even the world of entertainment. So we want to thank those of you who are here in the chat. I saw a few of you saying hello to one another. Thank you, Bandito, for making sure that we did not neglect them. I want to thank Joe for being here. Yeah, the chat is awesome. They sometimes make the show. Often they do. Joe, I want to thank you for being here. Thanks for giving us a brief sneak peek at what's to come for Star Circuit. I got high hopes for it because I enjoyed the first one as much as I did. And of course, I want to thank Bionic Bra and SmilingBandito for being a fun part of the panel, as always. And we'll see you next week, folks. Oh,
Hail and well met.
I got to go up here.
Peace.
Peace out.
Thanks, guys.